Hello, it's Alex. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to be doing a review of the pattern I picked from Fayma Patterns, and they're the company that I talked about at the tail end of last year who make sewing patterns that are bespoke or made to measure using your own individual measurements. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. Did just want to say a big thank you, however, for all the brilliant comments and suggestions following my last video. So I've got a huge long list of trouser patterns to have a look at, and also some ideas about some really good quality ponte and even some striped fabric. And I'm going to be talking more in the future about the hashtag does this fabric exist. But anyway, I really want to just get on with this because my plan is to do quite a thorough review, really, because I really like the idea of sewing patterns that are tailor-made. I've got lots of birds tweeting outside because I'm in the shed at the bottom of the garden, so hopefully that won't be too annoying. So yeah, Fayma approached me, as I say, last year, and I had a look at their website. I didn't know anything about them at all. Obviously I like the concept, but I hadn't really heard about them, hadn't really heard anyone else using them. But when I looked at the website, to be honest, I really liked what I saw. They seem to have a really wide range of patterns, and quite a few that I would pick. Some really nice presentation of the patterns, as in you can really see the design. There's line drawings. Why do some pattern companies not have line drawings? I fail to understand that. Anyway, proper line drawings, but also they have a brilliant thing on their website where they do a 360 view. I mentioned this when I mentioned them in passing when I said I was first doing this. I really like this 360 view. They have like a model, and you can, with your cursor, you can spin all the way around and see how the pattern or the finished garment looks from all angles. So I think that's really good. And I also like the fact that they don't just stick to tiny, slim, young models, which is always a plus. So you can see the designs on a range of sizes and some, more real figures. So I thought I would give it a go, but very much on the proviso that I would be honest and come back and tell you what I really thought. And so with that in mind, I will tell you how I got on. So I picked, I had the pick of any pattern I wanted to choose. Obviously I wanted to choose something that had quite a bit of fitting to it, and they do, you know, jumpers and more loose designs, but that seemed a bit pointless. I was tempted to pick trousers because, as we all know, trousers are the hardest thing to fit. But I went for a dress just because I thought that way I would get an idea of sort of top and bottom half. So I picked the Royal Blade dress because it is pretty fitted. It's quite tight fitting, which you can see on the model. It has darts at the waistline, separate, well, it's not a separate bodice, but you know, a seam for the bodice, darts under the bust and your normal bust darts, and it also has, which I always think is a sign of a good pattern, it also has shoulder darts. So I thought that it would give me quite a good idea of just, those are the areas that we can have problems with fit. So I thought that would be a good one to choose. And I did decide that I would do the right thing and I would make a toile. So I've got a toile to show you, and I've also got the finished item. So the way it works is that once you've chosen your pattern, you need to create your measurement profile. And in order to do that, you download their app. The app is actually really rather good because it walks you through step by step everything you need to do in a way that's really clear. It does say, and I would also agree, that you need to set aside a little bit of time to do it. I think I probably took 15-20 minutes, and that you do really need someone to help you, and I would agree with that. I asked my husband to help, and about halfway through, he was working from home and he had meetings, and he was like, can I go? I've got things to do. And I did, towards the end of it, take some of the measurements myself, and that was actually quite tricky to do and probably not ideal. So I would definitely go along with their recommendation of having a friend help you take the measurements. You also have to take a couple of photographs, and they ask you to do that in something skin tight and against a blank wall or something that's kind of clutter free. I did mine wearing black leggings and like a jersey cami top, and also, if like me you've got long hair, you have to tie your hair back, and I presume that's so that they get some kind of outline, and then you go through the measurements. The app is great, as I say, because it literally takes you through section by section. It's beautifully clearly laid out. There is a written description of what you need to do, but also a little sort of 30-second, 1-minute video of each stage with a little tick box once you've gone through it. So you start off by marking some key points. They choose stickers to mark these key points. So one, for example, is the nape of your neck, and they have like a little sticker, and they put it on. They show you how to do that and where to do it. They put it on the nape of your neck. I think one is a shoulder point. Can't remember the others. My lovely husband decided to mark me with a Sharpie. That's nice, isn't it? Anyway, obviously it's gone now. Yeah, sometimes where one of us, like for example, hips are one of those measurements, aren't you? Where exactly is the hip measurement supposed to be? You know, does it include the tummy? Is it down here, more thigh area? It literally shows you everything. So it's really lovely and really nicely laid out. So you do that, and then once you've got your measurement profile, it's there for any future patterns, and unless your body changes, you don't have to go back and do it again. What you do then is you select which print option you want and then order your pattern. The print options are the usual dreaded A4, or I guess letter if you're in the US, print at home, AO that you might send out, and there is also a continuous roll option for continuous paper with a couple of different variations of width of paper. So there's a lot of choice of print options there. And then fairly soon afterwards, I can't really remember, but certainly same day, I don't think it was very long, the file arrives via email and off you go. So in my case, I sent mine off to be printed because I'm not doing A4 print at home anymore. And I thought that rather than doing the continuous roll, I would choose AO because that's obviously the most commonly used print option when you're sending out. Now Fabuloso, who I use here in the UK for printing patterns, they do have oversized printing and they do have a continuous roll option, but I didn't know what their measurements were, and I have excuse me, I have actually emailed them and asked them. So in fact I might quickly just, oh no, my mobile's not here. I was going to say check to see if they've emailed. If they've emailed to let me know, I will put a title. So I was really keen to see the pattern once it arrived here at home. The darts around the bust, around the bodice, you know, the bust darts and around the waist were exactly actually what I was anticipating, because I don't have a huge bust. And I don't have a huge difference between my waist and my hip measurements. So the darts that were under the bust were pretty small, which is what I would expect to see. And the side bust darts were pretty much as I would anticipate. Yeah, and it was also interesting when I had a look at the instructions that it said that when it comes to making the darts, it says, you know, that obviously the number of darts is going to vary according to your shape and your individual size. So not everybody necessarily gets the exact same number of darts, which again makes sense if you're having a pattern that's made specifically to your shape. So that all looked really good. I decided to make a toile, and I got going with that, and I made the toile out of poly cotton, which with hindsight was probably not the best thing to do, because the fabric requirement for this pattern is actually for a stretch woven. It needs, I think it says between 2 and 4% elastane. I probably should have tried to find something similar at home, but I didn't. So I made my toile out of polycotton, which means I am going to put it on in a minute and show you, but it is skin tight. It also doesn't have a zip in the back, which the pattern also has. So I can just about squeeze it on, but I'm not going to want to stand around in this too long, I can tell you that for sure. As you can see, I made the toile without the sleeves. I probably would have put the sleeves on had I had an issue with the bodice, but I didn't really feel that I needed to. The sleeves, by the way, on this dress are pretty fab. I really love the design where they split at the arm. I'll show you the finished thing in a minute, you'll see what I mean. So yeah, I was really impressed with the instructions, and I can be a bit fussy about or a bit nitpicky about instructions, but I do feel that these were very good. So they had all the sort of extra bits and pieces that you would want for somebody that perhaps isn't too experienced. So it talked about making sure that your patterns were placed on grain, a little explanation about what grain line was, really nice clear demonstration of how to sew darts, lots of information about good pressing, and they were done in that nice way, step by step, so it's not overwhelming and not confusing. Yeah, if you've seen any of my reviews before, some pattern companies do instructions better than others, don't they? But these were very good. I was really pleased with them, so yeah, they were great. Let me show you and you see if you think what I thought when I put it on. Okay, so as I say, clearly it's very tight around here, but not in the right fabric. I'm happy with where the waistline is sitting. I'm happy with where the darts are. I found that the making, I'll come to the making in a minute because I'm a bit cold, but I find that the darts are working really nicely. The ones on the skirt are ending just about here, which is where they should end because that's where my tummy is sort of at its biggest point. So that's sort of feeling fairly seamless. In terms of the top part, the bust darts again are ending below the apex of my bust, which is where they should be, as are the ones at the side. And you've got this other dart here, which is slightly more, gives a sort of slightly sun ray look to it, and that's almost a bit more decorative really. So I'm really happy with that. I feel that the neckline is working okay. Obviously it's not got a facing on it, so it would be about 1 centimetre lower once I'd attach the facing, and it's only gaping, is it? Not really. So I was quite happy with that, and I'm also happy with where the shoulders are as well. So, and there it is at the back. As I say, I haven't even got a zip on this, so it's a bit of a squeeze, and I'm going to go put some clothes on because I'm really cold, and I'll carry on in a sec. Okay, I'm a bit warmer now. So I'm glad I did a toile. I think it was the right thing to do. I was very tempted to make some changes just because of how tight it was. But obviously I also had a bit of an element of doubt in my mind about whether that would be the right thing to do because this isn't the right fabric. It's got no stretch in it at all. And I also thought that for the purposes of doing a proper review, true, honest, review for all of you, that I would just proceed with everything as is and make no changes at all. So I would get on and make it in the appropriate fabric. I did show you a black fabric that I was going to make it out of, but that also was a woven with no stretch in it. So I had to have a bit of a rethink, and oh dear me, I had to order some fabric. But I also, if you remember back in December, I said I'd had a couple of questions for the people at Fayma at that point, and I wanted to get some responses back from them before going on to make the final garment. And that really was issues around the printing. Not so much the process of getting it printed. That was all fine. But when I got the file through, the email through with the finished file to send through to be printed, I was really surprised to find that it was running across 6 AO sheets. Now Fabuloso charge, I think it's £2.20, £2.15, something like that per sheet. So in order to just get this one pattern printed, it was costing me over £12, and that's excluding the cost of postage. And I don't think I've ever had a pattern printed with that many sheets, not even when I've had coats. So I was a bit grumpy about it, to be honest, because as I say, they gave me the pattern. I didn't pay for it, but I thought, again, for the purposes of review, I would be pretty grumpy if I'd paid for the pattern and then had to pay that much for printing on top. And in fact, one of you, and I'm really sorry, I can't remember at the moment who it was, but one of you put a comment on the first video when I mentioned Fayma and said, I ordered a pattern from them, but it was going to cost me so much to get it printed that I didn't proceed. So that was slightly in my mind as well. When the sheets came, I was really quite grumpy about it because, for example, the front bodice piece was just on one sheet and it was in its full piece. So rather than being just one half and cut on the fold, it was in its full, single sheet, but just in one corner of an AO sheet, leaving huge amounts of empty paper that was just wasted. And I thought, right, this is not great. Cut all the pattern pieces out, and I soon realised that what they provide you with is not only that bodice piece, but also the front skirt piece was similarly. It wasn't just the half cut on fold, it was the full piece. And for every pattern piece, they gave you 2. So I had a right top sleeve and a left top sleeve, the other way around. Anyway, you know what I mean. I had a right bottom sleeve, a left bottom sleeve, same with the facing pieces. So basically, I had twice as many pattern pieces as I needed in the first place, and secondly of all, they were very poorly spaced out on the sheets, and there was no way that pattern needed to have taken 6 sheets. So I emailed them. I said, look, it's costing a lot of money in printing. There's a lot of paper wastage, which none of us want to be doing these days. And also in the instructions, it tells you to cut your fabric out as a single layer. So actually it's also incredibly time consuming, because rather than cutting, say, your right back bodice piece on a folded fabric, once, like we normally do, you would be pinning 2 pattern pieces on a single layer of fabric, cutting it out twice. What a palaver. So that's what I went and emailed them back. Anyway, we then kind of hit Christmas, I got COVID, so everything was a bit delayed. And in early January, I was really pleased that they came back to me. So they said, right, we've taken on board all your feedback and we've changed things and we've updated them, which I have to say I was really impressed with, because a lot of companies wouldn't have said that and would have just said, well, that's the way we do it, and given me the brush off. But instead what they've said is there is now a flip update, so the pattern pieces are now going to be provided as a single piece that you would mirror in the way that we normally do, and a parameter update so that the number of pieces given on any AO sheet is going to be used in a much less wasteful fashion and more pieces in there. So, and the other thing is that they're now going to be doing projector files, which, given my mention of possibly trying out a projector this year, is also potentially of interest. So as I say, I was really impressed with that. I thought that was really good actually, and so therefore I thought, okay, I will continue, and I decided to make the dress out of the fashion fabric. Now I'm going to show you my dress. Obviously I'm going to put it on in a sec. I'm going to show you my dress, but I will just say that I decided to make this dress out of the Lady McElroy Cobra Corsage fabric, and I've used this, I used a cotton version of this before, and a few people said that they don't like snakes and they would have preferred a warning. So this is your snake warning. Okay, I'll get it. So here it is, finished item on the hanger. Lots of you will know this fabric because lots of people love it, apart from those of you that don't like snakes. I really like it too. I bought this fabric from Minerva. It is listed as a stretch woven, and it's got, I think, 6% elastane in it, and I'm fairly sure that was a smidge more than the requirement. I think the requirement was 2 to 4%, but I thought it was minimal difference. Yeah, it's listed as a stretch woven. It does, and it's, you know, polyester and elastane, so there's nothing natural about it. It does have a feeling a bit like a scuba. It has that kind of bouncy feel to it, which, I mean, it's not a fabric I would necessarily want to wear all the time just because of its, yeah, I mean, it's being man-made or not being very natural, but I absolutely love this print. And with it being such a fitted dress, I did want to have a print rather than a plain fabric, because I just think it's more likely to disguise lumps and bumps. I didn't do any pattern matching. I felt that the fabric was busy enough that I could get away with it, but I did spend a little bit of time making sure that at least the sort of major motifs, like this white rose here and the snake, you know, and the beetles and things, weren't repeating themselves too close to each other, you know, so I wouldn't, for example, you know, with this flower here, I would have made sure that there wasn't another one right there. So I sort of paid a bit of attention to it, but I didn't, strictly speaking, pattern match it. The only time I didn't really get away with that too well is right at the back. This is repeated. It was one of those fabrics where I wasn't sure whether I was going to be able to press it, but in fact it does press reasonably well, obviously not massively hot, and that's relevant because there's a fair bit of interfacing. You're interfacing your facings around the neckline, and things like where you've got the split here, the side hems on the split, but also the sleeves. The sleeves have this fabulous cut from sort of elbow downwards on the inside, and that is lined with an internal facing lining, anyway, which, given that this fabric is white on the wrong side, I was really pleased about, to be honest. So I'll go and put it on and you can see what you think of it. Okay, here's my finished dress, and I have to be honest, I am thrilled with it. I'm super pleased that I didn't make any changes to the fit after making the woven toile. I decided, you know, I trusted the pattern and that I trusted that all my correct measurements were in there, and I feel that it's worked really well. I feel like it's a sort of going out kind of a dress with these dramatic sleeves. Had I have made it in time for Christmas, it would have been perfect, because obviously with the extra length there, it's great for a winter going out dress, but obviously any time of year. I am wearing heels, which is not something I say very often, but yeah, I felt like it was right. Yeah, I'm super pleased with how it's fitting. Obviously this time it's now got an invisible zip in the back. The side splits are probably just about as high as I would want them to be, but you know, I can live with it. I love the sleeves, as I said. Obviously when I made the toile I didn't put the zip in, so the zip instructions were great. I loved the instructions for the sleeves. The sleeve head has quite a lot of notches on it, which means inserting that was a lot easier than They often are. And I really liked how the facing is attached as well. So really, really pleased with all of that. But more importantly, for me, so far with this pattern, I feel like the concept works. Obviously, the ultimate test is going to be a pair of trousers, isn't it? Because, yeah, we know how difficult they are. But as you know, I don't often wear things that are that fitted. Certainly not where dresses are concerned, because for me it would involve taking a lot of alterations. Obviously I don't have a particularly big bust, and I know people that have bigger busts struggle with patterns. I know those of us who are not standard sizes or standard heights, you know, have non-typical bodies. I mean, I don't actually know what a typical body is, but yeah, the idea of picking a pattern that you know is going to fit you because it's made to your measurements is an idea that works really well. And for me, this has been a lot more successful than, to be honest, I thought it was going to be. So yeah, as I said, there is obviously going to be a link in the description box below, which is an affiliate link. I do also have a discount code, and I have forgotten what it is, so that will also be in the description box, and I'll put a title up. If anybody makes any of these Fayma patterns, please come back and let me know, because I really, really want to know how you get on. But yeah, I have to say I am absolutely chuffed to bits. Yeah, because to be honest, if the fit had been great and the instructions were a bit pants, I probably would have forgiven that. But actually, I genuinely think you've got everything in one. And given that they took on board my feedback about the pattern printing and how they work, how the pattern layout all worked, I think that was really good. I noticed when it came to fabric requirements, obviously they can only give you a bit of a ballpark because it's going to depend, on your size. And I noticed that when it gave that ballpark, it gave a minimum size and a maximum size. Now, I don't know whether that was just for this specific dress, but the maximum size was hold on, I made a note, hold on, see if I can read my own writing. Hip 152 centimetres 60 inches, bust 150 centimetres, which is 59 inches, and height was, I think this is 185, honestly, my eyesight, but certainly 73 inches. So it does seem like there's a maximum, I think. I could probably get that checked out. In fact, if anyone's got any questions that they want to know about Fayma, let me know in the comments and I will put them to them and see if we can get some responses, because that'd be really good. So yeah, it seems like there are some rough guidelines of sizing, but yeah, I think you can tell I am absolutely thrilled with this, to be honest. Do you know, my only problem is I've got nowhere to go in it. I need to find an excuse to have a bit of a night out, don't I? Maybe my husband should take me on a date or something. Not really sure. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate if you'd subscribed. If you've already subscribed, the thumbs up thing really helps too. Just because of the YouTube algorithm and because I've been away for a little while, I need YouTube to remember that I still exist. But yeah, please let me know if any of you try them. I'd really like to know if anyone's got any questions to put to Fayma about the process, or, may well be that I can answer them having done it now. Please let me know. And in the meantime, I will be back pretty soon. Is it going to be the room tour? Might be. I'm going to do a sewing room tour very soon anyway. So yeah, thank you very much everybody. I will be back really soon. Hope you all have a really nice time. I'm just off to convince my husband to take me somewhere swanky. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye bye.